Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Depending on where you are in this world, God bless you. This is Gloria White coming to you from Utah, USA. Today we're continuing in Halley's Bible Handbook, and we are in chapter 28, Denunciation of Samaria and Jerusalem. Back from visions of that day, Isaiah sternly warns his own people, who were given over to sensual indulgence, of impending calamity, as in chapter 22. This evidently was before the fall of Samaria in 721 BC. Glorious beauty. In verse 1, Samaria, capital of the north kingdom, was situated on a well-rounded hill in a rich and beautiful valley, crowned with luxurious palaces and gardens. Strong one in verse 2. The Assyrian power which, after a 3-year siege, took Samaria, but which was turned back at the gate of Jerusalem. The scoffing revelers called Isaiah's warning childish in verses 9 through 10. Isaiah's reply in 11 through 13. They will find Assyria bondage as monotonous as his warnings. Sneering rulers of Jerusalem in verses 14 through 22. Hezekiah was a good king, but many of the powerful nobles in his government, scorning both Isaiah and Jehovah, were relying on their own power and Egypt, a covenant of death. There in verse 15, their scornful boast of security. Cornerstone in verse 16, God's promise to David on which they should have relied. Strange act in verse 21. God's punishment of his own people by the sword of foreigners. Comfort to the faithful in verses 23 through 29. The import of these words seems to be that God's people need varied and seasonable treatment adapted to their condition. Now we'll continue in the King James Version of the Holy Bible and Isaiah chapter 28. Woe to the crown of pride, to the drunkards of Ephraim, whose glorious beauty is a fading flower, which are on the head of the fat valleys of them that are overcome with wine. Behold, the Lord hath a mighty and strong one, which as a tempest of hail and a destroying storm, as a flood of mighty waters overflowing, shall cast down to the earth with the hand the crown of the pride. The drunkards of Ephraim shall be trodden under feet. And the glorious beauty which is on the head of the fat valley shall be a fading flower, and as the hasty fruit before the summer, which when he that looketh upon it seeth, while it is yet in his hand, he eateth it up. In that day shall the Lord of hosts be for a crown of glory, and for a diadem of beauty unto the residue of his people, and for a spirit of judgment to him that sitteth in judgment, and for strength to them that turn the battle to the gate. But they also have erred through wine and through strong drink, are out of the way. The priest and the prophet have erred through strong drink. They are swallowed up of wine. They are out of the way through strong drink. They err in vision. They stumble in judgment. For all tables are full of vomit and filthiness, so that there is no place clean. Whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk, and drawn from the breast? For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people. To whom he said, This is the rest wherewith ye may cause the weary to rest, and this is the refreshing. Yet they would not hear. But the word of the Lord was unto them precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little, that they might go and fall backward, and be broken and snared and taken. Wherefore hear the word of the Lord, ye scornful men, that rule this people which is in Jerusalem, because ye have said, We have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us. For we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood have we hid ourselves. And this is an unfulfilled prophecy in verse 16. Therefore thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I lay in Zion for a foundation a stone, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, a sure stone. He that believeth shall not make haste. Judgment also will I lay to the line, and righteousness to the plummet, and the hail shall sweep away the refuge of wise, and the waters shall overflow the hiding place. And your covenant with death shall be disannulled, and your agreement with hell shall not stand, when the overflowing scourge shall pass through. Then ye shall be trodden down by it. From the time that it goeth forth, it shall take you, for morning by morning shall it pass over, by day and by night, and it shall be a vexation only to understand the report. And the bed is shorter than a man can stretch himself on it, and the covering narrower than he can wrap himself in it. The Lord shall raise up, as in Mount Perazim. He shall be wroth, as in the valley of Gibeon, that he may do his work. His strange work, or awesome work, and bring to pass his act, his strange or unusual act. Now therefore be ye not mockers, lest your bands or bonds be made strong. For I have heard from the Lord God of hosts a sumptuous or a destruction, even determined upon the whole earth. Give me ear and hear my voice, hearken and hear my speech. Doth the plowman plow all day to sow? Doth he open and break the clods of his ground? When he hath made plain the face thereof, doth he not cast abroad the finches, and scatter the cumin, and cast in the principal wheat, and the appointed barley, and the rye in their place? Does he plant his crops in the right places after he's plowed? For this God doth instruct him to discretion, and doth teach him. For the finches are not threshed with a threshing instrument, neither is a cartwheel turned about upon the cumin, but the finches are beaten out with the staff, and the cumin with a rod. Corn is bruised, because bread corn is bread corn, which is flour, must be ground. So bread corn is bruised, because he will not ever be threshing it, nor break it with the wheel of his cart, nor bruise or crush it with his horsemen. This also cometh forth from the Lord of hosts, which is wonderful in counsel and excellent in working or guidance. They made up their mind what they were going to do, and they completely ignored God. And God said, excuse me, boys, I have something to say. And Isaiah was jumping up and down, trying to tell them, but they wouldn't listen. Like so many today, they won't open their ears or their eyes or their heart to hear the word of the Lord, who provides for everything for us. Stiff-necked people. That's what God calls us. Those that don't listen. Those that just ignore the words and the warnings and his commandments and his teachings. We are considered in God's eyes stiff-necked people. Hard-hearted. But he so longs to take away our hard heart and to give us a heart of flesh, and to, as a mother hen, gather us under his wing to protect us. But all through the centuries, over and over again, man has done everything possible to hurt God. It just absolutely breaks my heart. You know, guys, I love you. You know where I am.